Hey, honey, how are you? It's Deborah.
I am just fine. Thank you, Deborah. How are you? How are you doing with your move?
Well, our move is doing very, very well. And while everybody's getting on, I'm just going to let everyone know who listens to this podcast after we have our chat that this is the MAP community call, making plans for your pet, navigating the journey they take when you can't care for them. And boy, do we have a lot to talk about today, let me tell you. But I'm just going to check in with everyone who comes because it's so important that we all are together, especially right before this incredible holiday where all of our dogs are going to have nervous breakdowns, unless, of course, they're deaf. But I think even when they're deaf, they feel that concussion. So the best thing you can do is really make sure your pets are safe and can't get out. They actually had a little piece on the CBS Morning News today where a dog who had run away because of fireworks. She was young, she was a puppy, but she was a greyhound, so she was pretty big. She came back and rang the Ring doorbell and was like, let me back in. After she'd been gone for like 2 days. So if your dogs can do that, then I guess you don't have to worry. But I know that I don't own dogs like that. And I know that, Connie's dogs can't reach it and neither can Susan's. I'm pretty sure that Athena could do that. But she might not choose to do it because she is a little bit of a curmudgeon. So I'm just so glad to see you all here. This has been such a crazy 2 weeks. Week actually, right? Because I was here last week. That's how crazy it is. The moving is going well. I have to say that I thought the National was over. However, I'll be letting every dog club know in the universe that the hotel we use, they should steer clear of with 100-foot pole, not a 40-foot pole, but 100-foot pole, because the contract seems to not mean anything to them. So we will be figuring that out. And we actually had 2 or 3 cases of what we deem kennel cough at the National.
Ay, ay, ay.
Right. That can be almost anything. And most of the dogs were vaccinated, but one of our vets put up on our Irish Setter Club of America website, which you can go and check out, that kennel cough is a variety of things.
Right.
Under one umbrella. So although you are vaccinating against Bordetella, which is what we traditionally think of as kennel cough, there are other things that can cause some sort of tracheal discomfort, which causes the dogs to cough. So even though your dog is vaccinated, it may not protect them from other strains of the disease, of diseases that are out there, as we know, because now we have COVID Delta. So I'm going to start with Connie because they're telling you to put your mask back on.
Yes, they are. Even in Los Angeles County. In fact, the whole state supposedly opened up on June 15th, state of California. And then 2 days later came the guidance from... Only kidding, right? The LA County Department of Health, and we have a wonderful public health director, said, no, you need to keep wearing your mask indoors.
Yeah.
So when I went, I only took my mask off once to go grocery shopping and once to run into the pet food store. The next times that I have gone, I have put my mask back on. So it was very short-lived, but the good news is that everybody is really compliant. And in fact, our vaccination rate here in LA County has reached President Biden's goal of 70%.
Yay, I know. 70%.
So we're even ahead of the entire state of California, which is doing really, really well. We have one of the highest vaccination rates in the country. So we're very proud of all our peeps in LA, and we're keeping our fingers crossed. As far as fireworks, yes, they are absolutely illegal in Los Angeles County, but that doesn't mean that, especially here by the Port of LA, which is down the hill from us, the rocket's red glare isn't just going like crazy. And there have been some official fireworks displays from some nearby cities. In fact, a friend of mine in the next town just up the road warned me last Saturday night that there would be a city fireworks display in the city of Lomita, and I thanked her very much. And my two don't really react to fireworks. Grammy Bammy, the angel now, had a terrible time with them from the time she was a baby. So at any rate, I always stay home on the 4th, keep the windows closed, the AC on, and the TV or music turned up so that it kind of deadens the noise. So we're bracing.
Great. Yeah, that's what I always suggest people do. So I'm so glad to hear that you're safe in LA, that things are, getting better. 70%, I think New York is almost a 70% too. So we are having a great deal of vaccination. And it's interesting because people are getting sick now or coming out and saying I should have gotten vaccinated. So
Right.
hopefully that message will get out. So let me check in with you, Susan. How's Maggie? How are you?
Maggie is doing better, and I really don't know if it's because of the Soloquin or, we bought the reward pack that Kathy had suggested, and I've used it a few times. It's like a miracle for her because she's very food oriented. And I'm pleased because I feel like there's some hope here for, and we haven't even started working with Kathy yet. And actually, this is going to be Maggie's second 4th of July. So last year was kind of muted because of the COVID.
Right.
And so I don't know how she's going to react if things get kind of wild here. But
well, just make sure the doors are closed, because usually what happens is somebody doesn't close the door and the dog gets spooked and runs out and takes off. So you just have to always make sure the doors are closed and the dog is behind a baby gate if people are going in and out or whatever, because it's always that split second and then they're gone like lightning because they're, they don't know what it is and they're afraid. So just make sure the doors are closed. But I'm so glad we'll take success on this call.
Yeah,
any way we can get it, right?
Exactly. I'm very pleased. She's doing better. She still has the same kind of impulses to bite your hand or whatever. But
are you using the lemon juice yet?
I haven't used it yet because she's really muted. It's not like it used to be where she just went for you without a second's notice. It's kind of like now she a little bit like she's going to go for your finger, but
right.
It really calmed down a lot. So
well, good. Well, there's always that lemon in a spray bottle. That's your, man's best friend, almost the best friend of. So, Sally, how's everything going at your house? I know that Athena is very distrustful and does not like fireworks. I know this for a fact. You're muted.
She's very interesting because as you talk about dogs escaping outdoors, she had a tummy ache the other day, and the screen door to the back of the house, which she has never, ever gone out of, she knew that was a screen door and the screen door is there, and she had a tummy ache. She pushed it open, ran out, and relieved herself. And I was like, I've never seen her go out the door ever, but she didn't want to have an accident in the house. And I was like, well, I guess I have to keep that door locked too. But yeah, it's interesting. We're actually having huge thunder booms as this is going on. But yeah,
I'm waiting.
Yeah, well, I think we've got them first. They're coming your way. I'm fortunate because we have 2 buildings on the property, and one is very well insulated and well air conditioned. So basically we can all just hunker down and very few windows. So it's the perfect place to be.
Yeah, that is great because it is a terrible time for them. It's under one of the 10 Ds, right? Because we have disaster, and to them, this is a disaster. And speaking about disasters, oh my God, Florida, but we won't go into that because that was just an incredible disaster. And I don't know if all of you heard that one woman got out and she used one arm to get out because the other arm was carrying her little white dog. And she got out with her dog. So, to say people are really attached to their pets is an understatement in that case. Hey, Kieran, how's everything going?
Hi, Debbie. All good. And you?
Pretty good. I had an interesting exchange with Spencer today. So for
Oh.
those of you who might not know, Spencer is the creator of Rebound Dog, and he's bringing people together who want to give dogs a really great home. That's how I met Kieran. That's how Kieran met me. And we all are on the road to making sure that people are good and responsible pet owners, however they define that. And I think it was an interesting exchange because we always get into our own cycle of what is responsible ownership. And Kieran's written a book on it, but that book is so broad that it gives people the opportunity to choose what responsible ownership is for them. And in this day and age, with people losing their homes and losing their jobs and maybe even having long-term sickness, maybe giving their dogs up is better than keeping them. And there are people who will judge before they'll take the time to understand exactly the thought processes of Deborah before she gave up her Irish setter. What was she thinking? How could she do that? And I just always suggest to everyone that when you're making your plan for your pets, understand that the people you're going to have as your you're addressing the needs of the pet and you're appointing caregivers. So the people you appoint as caregivers should know your point of view. It's not their point of view, it's your point of view. And if you understand their point of view and say, listen, when I'm gone, you do what you want, that's fine too. But we always have to think about what's in the best interest of the pet. And I often think that to shame or blame or have judgments doesn't give the pet the best opportunity to go to the next place, if that's where they should go, or to stay put. I know when we talk about One-Eyed Leo, there are a lot of questions in there that talk about what's best for you, what can work for you, what would be best for the animal. And that's why responsible ownership isn't how I define it, or Connie defines it, or Sally defines it, or Susan or Kieran. It's how the person who has the pet defines it. And then we can help them maybe expand that definition to include different things or to gain assistance so that they can keep the dogs with them. So it was a wonderful exchange. I think that one of the gentlemen took umbrage to my use of the word one. When one wants somebody to do something a certain way, he says, are you meaning me? And I said, well, no, I'm meaning one as in the multitudes, because we all have. So this is a wonderful call. And I have found that there are at least 50 to 60 people listening to this call. It was amazing to me every week. And everybody has their own definition of how they're going to care for their pets. Everybody, even though Connie sends people home with a list of what they should do to take care of their pets, so do I. Sally has one of my dogs. I can tell you that Sally takes care of my dog better than I would ever have put in a document. I'm sure Connie has had really good owners and owners she really had to nurture. And Susan should call her breeder so she gets more information. But the breeder sent her home and she's doing the best she can with Maggie as well. So when we talk about how someone is supposed to care for their dog or keep their dog or let their dogs go, it really is a personal thing. And to help that person understand that you're helping them and not judging them makes taking the next step the best step for the pet. And that's always what we want to do here at the MAAP plan. That's why you're making a MAAP plan, because you want to make sure the next step for the pet is the best step for that pet, not you should keep it because, don't you take responsibility for life? Well, we'd hope so. And One-Eyed Leo sort of shares what that means with everyone. However, sometimes things change and we can't really see that. And if that's the case, then I'd love to have groups and people involved to help the pet make that next transition to a new home. The one thing that was really interesting was that there was an article. So this is the counter article to the New York Times article that I put out probably 2 weeks ago, where it said that dogs are not being dropped off at any greater a rate at shelters than they were in 2019 here in the United States. I don't know about the UK or Tenerife. I don't know. However, now people are saying, my God, they're being dropped off in droves. Well, not any more than they were dropped off in 2019. And nobody was dropped off in 2020 for two reasons. One is everybody was home and put up with the bullshit. Sorry. And two, the shelters had skeleton staff and and people, bought dogs and they were still puppies and cute and loved them. I mean, Susan can say that, maybe the first 6 months with Maggie were the best. And then all of a sudden she needed help. And that's why she's here with us, because that's what we supply here. We supply the help to make a plan. We also supply the help to figure out how to keep Maggie with her. So it really is very important as a responsible owner, and then as people who have pets, to not judge each other, but try to help each other keep those pets. So I don't know, Kieran, do you have any comments on that? Because I know it really is important to you that people understand what responsible ownership is. But when I read One-Eyed Leo, there was very little judgment in there. It was more informative.
True. It's the sort of the premise of the book is to sort of step away from everything, to step away from the system we have today, and I will be a little bit judgmental in that when you look at the four forces that sort of rule the world today, which is, the first one is the pressure from the children who say, our friend in school has a dog, we have to have one. So that's the first force. Then the second one is ill-informed choices from the parents who take out the credit card and says, okay, this magic card will solve everything once again. Then the third force is behind the scenes, invisible, the puppy mills and the puppy farms, and their profits are slightly less than the illegal trade of drugs and guns. They actually make millions. And then the fourth and fifth, if you like, forces would be the existence of rescue shelters run by a voluntary section and poor legislation. So we live in a very strange world where we have 6 to 10-year-olds acting as fundraisers for mafia gangs without anybody actually realizing it. Now, if it wasn't so crazy, it would be funny, but it's inadvertent, and that's what keeps the world going at the moment.
Yeah.
So the whole point of One-Eyed Leo.
Go ahead.
Sorry.
No, go ahead.
Right. The whole point of One-Eyed Leo is that if you think of a dog in a cage, right, the four sections of the cage that keep him in this square, this very small square, are those forces. So the idea is to try and plot the way to get out of the system by attacking perhaps the weakest link of all, which is maybe the minds of the 6 to 10-year-old. I know every parent in the States and in the world will say, well, that's actually probably the most difficult task of all. But it's possibly the only link that you could influence beneficially and quickly, and for the betterment of everybody. So the whole idea of the thinking behind the book is sort of to subtly think, how would a dog get out of these cages?
Yeah, which side of the cage is the weakest link? And you're absolutely right. If we can educate the children on what the responsibility is, instead of having them handle their parents for the dog, and then the parents realizing, I don't have time, I don't have money, the kid's not doing what they said they were going to do, which is what One-Eyed Leo really explores. This is your responsibility. And I think I said it before, I had the Pet Network Incorporated, your connection to the right pet. I never let anybody get a dog because it was all about the mother taking care of the dog. The kids wanted it, the dad wanted it, and the mother had to take care of it. And I said, do you want the dog? She goes, no. And I said, well, then you shouldn't get a dog. And that's, I think, what One-Eyed Leo brings forward, right? These are the responsibilities as a child, a 6 to 10 to 15-year-old, that you need to do. And the parents, that's one side as well. It may shut them up really quickly, and I have my credit card, but do I really want to take on that responsibility?
And Karen, I think you really have hit the nail right on the head about the weakest link is the 6 to 10-year-old age group, because I am the very, very, very first generation of growing up with television in the United States. I mean, I remember watching the original I Love Lucy with Lucille Ball and Desi Arnaz. I remember Sid Caesar and Imogene Coca on your show of shows, the originals. So, and I was the very first generation when it was released as a brand new release of Lady and the Tramp in the animated version. And my very first dog was, in fact, a little Ascot Cocker Spaniel. And then we got two, and that's how we got into dogs in our family. So I will offer that all the big cereal companies in the United States of America, when television was first introduced in black and white and a little teeny, screen, used to pitch to the 6 to 10-year-olds who were the consumers of the cereal. And then the 6 to 10-year-olds would go run and say, Mom, you've got to buy Cheerios or Fruit Loops or whatever it is. And some of the cereals were good and an awful lot were horrible and full of sugar.
Captain Crunch wasn't good?
So at any rate, I just offer that. It has absolutely been demonstrated billions of dollars later that is the age group that you need to pitch to.
Yeah,
if you're going to get a message across. So you are right on the money, my friend.
Yep, right on the money. And really giving parents the strength to say no if they truly don't want a dog is okay. It's really okay. And I know that my mom got a dog because her girlfriend got a dog and she didn't know what to do with the dog. But that was my sister and my responsibility. We had to walk the neighbor's dog for a year before we could get a dog. We were walking the neighbor's dog. It was a big collie. It almost took me in the middle of the street because it was bigger than I was. I think I was 5 or 6. I would never have let me walk her dog, but she did. She was crazy, this lady. But we had to do that before we could get a dog. So that kind of responsibility was really important. So yeah, absolutely. And I love, it really is a stretch, but I get it, that, little 6 to 10-year-olds are, pushing the wares of some similar to drug dealers, puppy mills.
Absolutely.
Because we as good breeders, and we say that with all love and respect, we can't meet the demand, and people want purebred dogs. So we can't meet the demand. And does that mean that, you should go to a shelter? Well, if you'd like to, go ahead, but I really want Irish setters. And our desire for immediate gratification gets us on the internet, which is the curse and scourge of the world. So we can find those beautiful puppies in Arkansas, which probably have never seen a clean white towel except for that time he took the picture. And you buy the dog. And buyer beware doesn't even begin to talk about what you're getting, because nobody ever asks for help. They just want to make sure they have it for Saturday for the birthday party. And, so those are the two pieces, the 6 to 10-year-old and then the parents with a credit card. You're absolutely right.
But the goal is to try to get rid of the puppy mills. Is that sort of what you're thinking about? Or
I think that if you talk to AKC, they don't want to get rid of commercial puppy breeders. They want to make sure that the commercial puppy breeders are brought up to a higher standard. I don't know who's going to enforce that higher standard, and I think that's where the hiccup is. So we want purebred dogs, but there is no one who wants to look at where the purebred dogs are coming from, and whether or not, if you get a Wheaton from Connie or an Irish setter from me, the nurturing they got for the first 8 to 12 weeks is a lot different than someone who's raising it as a cash crop. And in the second part is
that is so important.
Yep, these people have been doing this as a cash crop for years. It's how they heat their home. It's how they feed their children. So what are you going to give them in replacement for it? I think I've said many times that Dr. Marty Greer from Wisconsin has gone into the Pennsylvania Dutch area and taught Pennsylvania Dutch breeders how to breed better dogs in cleaner environments so their dogs are healthier. However, yeah, it's a cash crop for them. It's like corn. And the difference now is that animals are no longer commodities that people tie out in the backyard with a doghouse. They are they're family members and companions. So if you're treating your dog like something less than, a pillow sleeper, you're a bad person. And talking the way you did, Connie, it brought me back to Lassie, right? And Lassie lived outside.
Lassie lived outside. That's right. So Lassie lived outside.
And, she would run in the fields and everything. Not to say that where we have pets now isn't better for the pets. It absolutely is. On most parts, we have leash laws that keep them safe. They don't run out in the street.
Right.
We have requirements for rabies so nobody gets sick. So that's all phenomenally great. However, there's still that, especially in Europe, and correct me if I'm wrong, Kieran. So in the United States, animals are family members and companions, and there's a strong push for making sure that they are not kept in anything other than your home and, next to your bed or in your bed. But in some of the countries in Europe and Asia and Africa, animals are still street dogs. They're still out there. There are no vaccinations, multiplying like rabbits, no pun intended, and really not valued the way that they're all valued. The shelter dogs and the purebred dogs, they're all valued so highly here in the United States, which they should be, because they are sentient beings. They are, they do feel pain. They do feel hot and cold and hunger and everything. We want them all to be in a home that cares for them. So how do we, one-eyed Leo, educate people before they get a dog that they can't let it roam so it breeds? They have to make sure it gets its vaccinations so it stays healthy and safe and keeps all the other dogs in the neighborhood healthy and safe. I think in the United States, it goes to a bit of an extreme, but we all want our dogs to be in great homes. I know I do. When I sell my puppies, I want them to go into great homes, and I monitor those homes, and so does Connie. However, when you want a dog right away, I have actually had people walk away from taking one of my dogs because I don't sell them other than on co-ownership. So you can never get rid of it. You can never do anything with it except if we talk. They walk away and they prefer to get a dog that has no strings attached, which I understand. But the string attachment is because we want to make sure you're successful. So like Susan has a breeder who she can pick up the phone and call. She might not do it, which is always an issue. And the breeder really has to be the person who accentuates that need for a relationship so that you can really make sure the puppy doesn't bite the owners and is trained well and handles different situations. It just makes it a little bit easier. But you're right. There's a call for animals, and it's filled by puppy mills, not by reputable breeders. And I guess the only thing we can try to do, shaming doesn't work. Like, you should adopt, don't shop. I get it, but if you really want an Irish setter, nothing else will do. And being able to wait until one comes from someone who is going to be with you from Whelping Box to Rainbow Bridge is something you really should look for. I don't know how you guys feel about that. How do you feel about that?
Well, you know how I feel about it. I am right there with you, Deb. And it is true that, the AKC loves to cite the statistic that, well, but all the reputable preservation breeders can't breed enough dogs to satisfy the demand, which is a true statement. But on the other hand, you do have the Amish puppy mills in Pennsylvania. I have seen them.
Yeah.
And I've seen the Wheatons that come out of them. And particularly any time that you have a breed, and we all have them, with genetic diseases, and some of those genetic diseases are fatal, like the two in my breed, one of which did kill my Grammy Bammy that we are developing a test for, but don't have it yet. University of Pennsylvania is working very hard on it. But unless you have a preservation breeder who tests the sire and the dam and looks at the pedigree way back for health, you're buying a pig in a poke, literally. And if a breeder, I don't care whether they're preservation or commercial, does not test for health, first and foremost, you are potentially condemning entire litters of puppies to death before they're born. And that's the way I feel about it.
And I think that's most important. You really have to educate the consumer, which is what One-Eyed Leo does. Educate the consumer on what their responsibility is and what they should expect the responsibility of the person they're acquiring the dog from. So if they're acquiring from a shelter, they really just need to get as much information as they can regarding where this dog came from, who dropped it off, is it puppies of somebody who dropped off a dog? Or if it's a breeder, find out more about the testing that was done for health and everything else. I don't know, because Sally and Susan are both recipients of breeders' dogs. What did you look for when you were looking for a pet?
Go ahead, please.
I didn't have much background or knowledge, but I did do online research. And initially I was looking for a rescue dog. That was years ago, but I couldn't find one. And so I was desperate after my other dog died, and we got on a waiting list pretty quickly. And it took about 3 or 4 months before we got the dog. And,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know,
How about you, Sally?
Actually, I wasn't looking for a dog, and the next door neighbor's dog, an Irish setter, adopted me and kept coming over every day. And then it was a very cold autumn night, and my husband and I had been out to a dinner party. We came home late, and there was the Irish setter had built a little nest of leaves at our front door, and it was 1 a.m, and there he was curled up in the nest of leaves. And I said, "Oh, we just have to take him in." And within a couple months, the lady that owned the dog said, "The dog loves you more than he loves me. Why don't you just take the dog?" I said, "Perfect, we'll take the dog."
Yeah.
That
And
was the beginning. That was number 1, and now we're on number 8.
that's
Wow.
right. That's right. So, they come into your life when you're supposed to have them, and you have to do the research. You have to really look. And it's not to say that people who get dogs from puppy mills always get a lemon. Some of them are, hybrid vigor. They last forever. They're like 13 years old because look at how they started. So they had to be really in great shape. They had every disease known to man that they were exposed to when they lived. But we really need to figure out how to educate those 6 to 10-year-olds, as Colin said, so that their parents do the research before they put their credit card down and recognize what they're getting and really, choose to be an educated consumer, because we can shift. I truly believe, but I might be drinking heavily before this call, which doesn't, but it could be. I truly think that if we request and require and show people how to keep dogs in a better environment, so that people can get the Labradoodles and the Cavachons and the, Beagle Shires or whatever they are, all the mixes that you can get, or the purebreds, that they're just raised so that they have their best start in life. So when they come home with their new owners, that relationship has the best start in life. So I always love chatting with you guys about these things, because when we're making a plan for pets, it is always important to understand what we want to do next, the beliefs we hold. That's why we're here every Wednesday night. And before I go, because it is already 7:02, I can't believe how fast these half hours go. It's ridiculous. I want to say that next time you'll hear from me, the background will look the same. However, I will be in Morehead City, North Carolina. The entire house is almost packed up. I can tell you that as a 63-year-old woman, lifting boxes is not good for your health. Every joint in my body is killing me. I get no sleep because I lay down and every joint is killing me. But we will persevere. We will move on. So I will have some new pictures, some new outlines, some new everything for next week. But until then, let's close up with everybody saying one thing they are really grateful for with what they're doing with pets. So I'm going to start with, of course, Kieran, because he wrote the book.
One thing I'm grateful for, I have an interesting one at the moment. I have another dog in my life that's just walked in.
Hi, baby.
And no, it's a Scottish Staffy.
Oh.
And it has it goes around with a tennis ball in its mouth. So I was teaching it how to drop the ball. And and now every morning we start off by going down to the beach at about 6:30.
Oh, nice.
So,
wonderful. Well, you're going to have to send a picture so I can post it so everybody can see it next time. So you have to send me a picture.
I will do that.
Perfect.
Yes.
How about you, Sally? What are you grateful for?
Well, I'm grateful because my dog has taught me on hot, hazy, humid days, the sun rises at 5:20 and we get up and we walk then. And everything else is later, but we can get in a 1-hour cool walk before it's hot, hazy, and humid. So I'm grateful for her waking me up every morning.
How about you, Connie?
I'm just grateful for my 2 wonderful dogs. and you know, they continue to be my heart and my support, and I just love them dearly.
Yeah. Yeah. Susan?
And I'm grateful for the support that I've gotten from you, Deborah, getting through with Maggie. And, you know, I was at the point of considering giving her up, and now I'm getting love. I'm getting, you know, a feeling like we're going to work through this, and it's wonderful. So I'm grateful for that.
Well, I'm grateful that you're grateful, because that's what we're here for. Not only are we helping people write their MAP plan, but we're helping them live better lives with their pets. And that's why we thankfully have Kieran here to give us the outline. I'm grateful for all of you coming every week. It's fabulous. I love it. And until next week, everybody kiss their dog for me. I'm actually going to be dogless as of Monday, because someone who will remain nameless will be having 2 Irish setters instead of 1, until we are able. Yeah, she's looking really happy about that. But until we move into our house. So until then, I love you all. I'll see you next Wednesday, because I'm going to need it. I'll probably maybe be bent over and looking down like this because my neck will be broken. But I will see you guys next Wednesday. Until then, kiss your pets for me and take good care. This is Deborah Hamilton, Hamilton Law Mediation, and the MAP program community call. I'm so glad you're all here.
Have a safe move.
Thank you, guys.
Safe travels.
Safe travels.
Thank you. Bye.